What up, YouTube? It's Frisky Dingo here, getting back with you guys with another reaction slash review video. Today we're looking at, is Donald Glover a sellout? Now, with this one, the internet rumors have started bubbling within the last couple of days because Donald Glover went on Twitter and basically expressed himself about how the Dave Show and its reception has received more critically acclaimed fame than Atlanta, compared to him growing this organic environment with Atlanta for black viewers and such. Now, in recent time, people have considered him a sellout. Now, when it comes to this topic, in my personal opinion, I don't believe Donald Glover is a sellout at all in any type of way. It's actually pretty redundant because this same conversation was brought on to Key and Peele, who grew up also in suburban environments and was considered not to be black enough. So this is a very common trope within the black community. If someone doesn't grow up in the urban or hood environment, they're considered not black enough or sellouts because they grow up around white people. So their humor, their precedent of their attire or being comes from a white bubble. Now, with someone Donald Glover, I don't think that can possibly be even an argument, because this argument isn't for Dave Chappelle. Now, as everyone knows, Dave Chappelle has recently been in the news for what's been going on with the LGBTQ, but also a lot of people don't know is that it was always a heated debate amongst black comedians if Dave Chappelle was a black enough comedian. That being said, his background started with white comedians all the way up into him doing Robin Hood Men in Tights. At that point, basically, a lot of people were familiar with him through a white audience. So the same thing could be said. And once again, I don't feel as Dave Chappelle's a sellout because he was engulfed in a white audience before black people got to see him. And I believe the same exact thing with Donald Glover or Jordan Peele. Just because they grow up in an environment that isn't urban or hood, like many of us, then that doesn't mean that they're not black or they're a sellout. Especially with Donald Glover, him doing the whole album, him doing Atlanta, him, basically always making sure that his films have the special representation that it needs, his creativity, the people he put around him. Even when he did Atlanta, the way he set up Atlanta, you could see that always with Donald Glover, it's about being black first and that representation of the message that's being presented. That's why Atlanta is the blueprint for many shows that exist now. A lot of people hate to hear it, but your favorite shows, Insecure, that new Native American show, Reservoir Dogs, that Latino show on My Block. All of these shows have taken the premise of what Atlanta did and expound upon it, which allows the main character and the setting of the story to be engulfed by the culture of the people. That is something extremely rare in America's cinematography. It's been a very long time where we get a black show that isn't filled with tropes or appeasing to other people and explaining black culture in its full outright film. You have to remember, Atlanta came out before Lovecraft Country. It came out before Insecure. It came out before Watchmen. It came out before Dave. Reservoir Dogs. Basically, this show brought this type of energy to the forefront. That being said, that's why I don't think Donald Glover is a sellout. Even if you look at his album with Redbone in it, you can see that the album itself is extremely eccentrically black. Even the time when it came out and they were doing the whole Jordan Peele Get Out movie film, that was being praised right along with it. So it really confuses me on how Donald Glover is considered a sellout just because he was in Community, or because he never fit the image of a typical urban hood black kid. And that once again makes absolutely no sense. Even me myself, growing up in urban environment, the hood environment, people still said to me, well, you're not black enough, and mind you, exactly. So You know, growing up, I always knew that I was black, but a lot of people considered me not black because of a plethora of things. You know, color of my skin. Growing up, I wasn't into, you know, gangster rap or music. I was really much into like Nas or Wu-Tang or you know, I was into Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Green Day, Linkin Park. I was into anime, you know, and even during those times, I learned how to vocalize my blackness. Why? Because I was still listening to Michael Jackson, Barry White, Luther Vandross, Marvin Gaye, etc., etc. But I never allowed my infatuation for another culture to overprecede who I am as a person. And I think a lot of people don't understand that aspect. That's something that Donald Glover, Jordan Peele, and Michael Keegan, and so on and so forth have had to experience. Hence why that's why Get Out exists. Why does that movie exist? Because of the precedent that he had to exist in, with people saying that he is pertaining more to white people. So what ends up happening is that he starts to engulf himself in his craft to make something so beautiful. And it's the same thing with Donald Glover. If you look at what people said about him, and then, you know, for him to come out with the album Redbone, and then for him to do Atlanta, you could see the precedent that he was setting. Then, you know, he go into This Is America, then Guava Island. He's setting a very much precedent in his work that exists because of obviously what people say about him. So he needs to express his blackness in a way that's beneficiary for everyone. So if I believe that Dave Chappelle isn't a sellout, I don't think that Donald Glover is a sellout at the same time. Those two things are contradictions. You know, you can be a sellout. To me is like a Herman Cain type person, or a Ben Carson type person, you know, so on and so forth. You can have people who work in white spaces and still be engulfed in blackness. My perfect example is always Colonel Powell. Colonel Powell was a very straightforward civil rights black man, but also a general that served during the Bush presidency. And even when you look at him and the comparison between him and Condoleezza Rice, you can see what I'm talking about. Condoleezza Rice, sellout. You know, she would invoke her own people and continue to perpetuate stereotypes and all this bad information just to get a seat at the table. Where Colin Powell was very staunch, very much like if you ever go back and read Colonel Powell's testimonies on black people protesting, you know, the civil rights movement, he speaks about everything in the most blackety black you can ever experience. So that being said, Donald Glover, you know, I don't believe so until the day that, you know, he starts to, participate in these tropes or do anything like that, then I would say he is. But, you know, just because he made music in the beginning that appealed more to a white audience, or because he was in Community, shouldn't separate him from black people. The only thing we would have to do is like, all right, okay, we see what you're doing. All right, let's keep an eye on you and let's see where this goes. And that should be said for any black person, because I feel as though, you know, this whole sellout thing is automatically brought into anyone who works in a white space. And once again, there are black people who do sell out, who do act coonish, who do these things. But I don't believe in any such way that Donald Glover exists in that format because of that reason. He's always been straightforward. He's laid the blueprint out with Atlanta. And now all these different shows are being able to express themselves culturally within their format because Atlanta started it first. You can't, once again, if you guys can like, subscribe, and comment in the section and let me know what show, you know, did it first. But once again, there's never been a show. You can say Martin, you can say Jamie Foxx, you can say My Wife and Kids, but all of those shows never engulfed the full eccentric value of being black and the multifaceted system that exists. Once again, Martin, it was a great show, beautiful show, had white writers on it. A lot of the jokes pertain towards white people. There's nothing wrong with it, but once again, Martin didn't show like a full black environment. They just showed what black people look like or act like through the lens of a white production company, and that's what you're receiving when you look at Martin. The only other show that I would consider on par with Atlanta would be something like Wayne's Brothers, but once again, the show produced, developed, the jokes written in a white aspect. Atlanta is truly the first show where the writers on the show are black, the film production on the show black, actors on the show black. The only thing you can say that's not black about Atlanta is the director, Hairu, which happens to be a Japanese man. But once again, the inclusivity, putting an Asian man as a man from Asia, as a director, there's nothing wrong with that. So, once again, Donald Glover has showed time and time again, that he's at the forefront of black issues. Even when he created Atlanta, he centered around the ability to have something that's unique in its process. So hopefully we find out more in the near future with Donald Glover and his lashback. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.